Hi everyone, welcome to the user group event that is hosted by Sitecore User Group Kerala and Sitecore User Group Mentor and hosted by Horizontal Digital. So this would be the second user group that Bangalore we are hosting in Bangalore. So there was one user group that happened 2 years before, and after that, this is the user group that we are hosting. So welcome everyone. We have nice sessions lined up for today. So you guys can enjoy and also ask queries. You can meet all people and engage with conversations regarding community and everything. And if you are also applying for MVP or you have any doubts, you can approach us. Yeah.
I would say welcome everyone and thanks for joining the session. Most of the things have been said by Shri only, so I'll not repeat myself. Yeah.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. First thing, and I appreciate your time for being here here on the day and ask any doubt or any question to any of the organizers or anybody team members in horizontal. We are happy to help and enjoy the networking as well. Thank you.
Thank you all. Without delay, I'll like to call this session.
Ah, can checking. All right. Okay. All right. Then all right. Thank you. Hello everyone. Audible? Right. Okay. So I'm Arpit. I lead the Sitecore development team in India, part of the horizontal team. Roughly around 4 years with horizontal now. Part of the Sitecore ecosystem since long. I remember the early days of Sitecore 6, 5, 5.4, 6, and all those things, right? So started working on Sitecore or part of the Sitecore ecosystem since I'll probably say 2009 or so, and on and off. So sometimes in between, I was working on something else. So yeah, partly aware about what is happening in Sitecore. So for opening session, what we'll do is we'll talk about horizontal briefly, who we are, what we do, where we operate, and then we'll talk about some of the philosophies that we operate with. The reason I'm picking up those slides is because I think, irrespective of whether we call it our philosophy or not, but if I look at this group, you all can take the notes from that mindset and that thought process, and if possible, you can apply it, right? And then we'll briefly talk about the two user groups who are arranging or organizing these sessions, right? And then we'll start with the session. So roughly around 15-20 minutes, and then we'll start the technical sessions, right? Uh, Thanks. Okay, right. So horizontal, one brand, two, let's say two verticals or two sub brands. One is horizontal talent, another one is horizontal digital. Horizontal started roughly about 20-21 years ago, headquartered in Minneapolis, US. And horizontal talent focuses primarily on the resourcing front, right? So it's a talent business. We have office on the first floor, which is primarily the talent office. Horizontal digital is where we do all the end-to-end implementation. So for a long time, we were focused only on Sitecore. And so if I say uh, until 2017 or 2016-ish, we're working or probably 2017, 2018, we are working only on Sitecore. Somewhere around that time, we started working on Salesforce, right? So if I talk about horizontal digital, we do only Sitecore and Salesforce. That's it. I mean, on and off, we have tried exploring other technologies, but I think our core forte lies with Sitecore. And then off late, we are, let's say last 7, 8 years, 5, 7 years, we are working on Salesforce. So primarily only these two technologies. And now you can understand that if an organization has spent last probably 15, 17, 20 years working on one technology, how deeply rooted that technology is. We have so many team members who are with the same organization for past 10, 12, 13 years. They've seen the entire ecosystem evolve. They've seen the entire technology stack evolve, right? So that's primarily what the horizontal is. Sorry. Slides. All right, so this is just the overview of the locations we have our offices in. Now, there may be a few more locations. Globally, we are obviously US. Then out of US, India was the first office which was started end 2013, beginning 2014. So, and there is a very famous story how India happened, right? So, Hardeep and Kiran, who actually started Horizontal India back in 2014 or end 2013, right? So Sheetal and Sabin approached these guys, and it was probably say, let's say you're playing a bluff, right? That way this entire relationship happened. So Hardeep and Kiran started this with two people back in 2014. We are now roughly about 350 in India, which includes talent and digital both under one umbrella. But that's a good growth. And as I said, we are very conservative in terms of, it's not that we want to be like go ahead and work on all the technology. So we are very focused, we are very niche, and even in that approach, from 2 to 350 odd people is pretty decent growth. And that too in the cities like Vadodara back in 2014, which was unheard for the IT industry. Amazing scale, right? And obviously, so US, India, then we have a big setup in Middle East. Middle East includes Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Saudi Arabia. We started UK operations last year, and in all probability, we'll start Australia next year, right? So I'm talking about digital only, right? The talent operates in Malaysia, Singapore, and few other places as well, right? So this is how we are spreaded. Uh, just the high level overview of all the projects that we have done, this subset of all the projects. And one of the important point I wanted to highlight here is that we have Indian brands or Indian logos. We still are missing few logos like Cipla and HSBC on this. We have Middle East. Then obviously all other are US and UK logos. So we have been working on projects for clients across the globe. So uh, we have obviously US, then UK, Middle East. Middle East, as I said, includes multiple countries. We have a lot of Indian clients that we worked with in the past. And currently we have 3 or 4 active India clients, Indian brands that we know. Um Obviously, a couple of clients from Singapore as well, right? So in a way, we are trying to cater to all the geographical locations. Now comes to Sitecore superiority. I think I've covered this point, but just to put it in the context of the numbers, last year we had 31 MVPs across the locations. I mean, horizontal as a whole, we had 31 MVPs. It's probably 13 or 14% of the total. I think last year Sitecore had roughly around 240-ish MVPs, out of which 31 we had, right? So uh, that's a good thing, and that's a lot of encouragement that we do. I think Shri is MVP, Varun is MVP here, right? And there are a lot of people going to apply in next few weeks. So that's a special encouragement that we have, and we've always focused on learning capabilities. I mean, we all do projects. Projects to karne hi padte hain, right? That's part of the life. But along with that effort that you put in on deliverables, can you also do something for yourself as well as for your team member? There's a subtle way of doing that, and that's where we focus many times. And I think that's now part of the blood, right? Because everybody does that knowingly or unknowingly, right? That's where we focus most. We have been awarded multiple experience awards. You talk about any of the Sitecore technologies, we've worked on it. We were the first one to pick up the XM Cloud projects probably 3 years back when it was launched. We actually conducted the XM Cloud workshop, in-house workshop, wherein we had roughly around 30 team members being trained for a week-long workshop. So one of the group technology director in US, Kiran Patil, he's again probably 13, 14 time MVP. He learned himself along with Sitecore, and then he conducted the workshop for us. So these guys that you know here, they were trained on XM Cloud when XM Cloud was in very early days, right? So that's how we keep learning, and eventually what happens is that learning gets reflected on your own knowledge, on your personality, and then it is resulted into the deliverables that we do. We'll talk about that in the next slides. Right. So this is where I actually wanted to talk about our philosophy. Uh, so if you ask me what is horizontal, right? Or how do we operate? There's a very simple line that we are an experience forward consultancy, as simple as that. Now, what does it mean? It can be as vague as you can interpret, or it can be as subtle way of doing things, right? And that's next few slides. I just want to focus on that because I think this is one of the things that you can take it from this from today's event, right? So experience forward mindset is part of the DNA, right? Now let's let me ask you a very simple question. What is experience? Very simple question. Not in the context of Sitecore, right? Forget about it. What is experience? This is an experience. I mean, whatever you're feeling now is an experience, right? So when we do a project, or let's say when we work on any of the client project or anything that we do for ourselves, right? When it comes to technology, it's just the developer or tech team which is involved. That's half the story. Right? You look at the entire ecosystem, you look at the entire project life cycle. Tech team is involved only for certain duration or only for certain tasks. A lot of other team members involved in, right? So what we try to do is that every person who's involved in a project lives or focuses on certain sort of experience for a lot of people, right? So everybody has to ensure that you live certain experiences. It is not only for client. Now, if we put this in the context of client, again, that's the half story, because the experience is not only for client, not only from tech team, but you have project manager, you have QA, you have designers, you have probably DevOps team members, right? So all those team members, whatever they do in the context of the project, okay, leave certain experience to the client. Now, if you're focused only on your tech learning, on tech focus, you're missing on a lot of other parts. So maybe your tech delivery is perfect, but somewhere designer is not doing right job or PM is not doing right job, right? So eventually we have to put the experience as a whole in the context of the client. But experience is not only for the client. Experience is also for the team members who work on that project. It is also for the audience of the client, or the, let's say, client of the client, right? So if you look at the entire experience spectrum, the team, the client, and towards the end, the audience of the client, right? Because we work for a client who's actually doing something for their own audience. So this experience, when you put it in the broader spectrum, so the team who's working on the project, the client's team, and then their own client, right? So that's the spectrum, and that's what we talk about, right? The same exactly same points I talk about, right? So it's the external audiences, B2C and B2B. Then you have digital operations. So that is precisely where your the team comes in. Then you have business stakeholders, right? You take any typical implementation. Okay, you will have core team who's working on the project, which will have multiple roles. Then you will have business stakeholders, generally the marketing team members, or multiple other if there are integrations happening. And then they are doing it for their own client base, right? So if it is a public facing website, they're doing it for a bigger audience, right? So when you talk about the experience, and if you're focused on any one of these three pillars, okay, somewhere we are missing the trick. Pretty sure all of you can connect that point, right? I briefly touched about this point as well. Technology is important, undoubtedly. Okay, we live in a technical world, but that's not the only important thing. If we talk about delivering something to our client, okay, technology is just one part of it. How do you have much better outcome? If you're going to focus only on technology, you're going to miss out on certain things, right? Very simple thing, right? You have people, obviously, right? Then you have processes, technology, and data. So when you combine all this put together, plus the previous slides, which is about different pillars, right? And then you take people, process, technology, and data, because you have different team members, you have different processes, and then you wrap it around with a much better experience framework. That's where you can deliver much better output to your clients. It's broad philosophy that we operate with. But if I talk about all the projects that we do, by and large, we try to follow this. All right, so I just wanted to highlight this. This is slightly complicated chart. So what we try to do, again, going back to previous slides, what I've explained, is that we try to build solutions around the relationship. Now, that is again a very vague term, but we're just trying to convert the experience into words, because at the end of the day, the experience gets converted to relationship. Now, how do you convert relationship into an output, right? So you put relationship in the center. Then you have to understand, right, what your client wants or what clients want, and many times there is a gap. You have to anticipate. Obviously, you can anticipate only when you have certain knowledge, whether technical knowledge or functional knowledge, right? And then obviously you suppress a lot of things, then you grow. So, and then you have a lot of data points, and you have a lot of tools, and then you have a wrapper of process. Now, again, this is very theoretical. Agreed, understood, right? But then when you put that into practice, and when you are conscious about doing or not doing certain things certain way, these things automatically fall in place. Just think about it, right? And again, this is the technical. So the way I wanted to do it is just talk about philosophy, some theory, and then how the technology maps that, right? So we have a lot of CDP aspect, then we have e-commerce aspect, and how those things are connected. And this is also broadly our expertise in terms of what we work on and what we deliver on the technical aspects, right? So it's what we do. Next slide, please. All right, these are the core values that we have defined and we follow and we live in, day out, right? And this is the part of horizontal philosophy. We start, I mean, there is no order, but there's 5 phrases, right? Lock arms, show hustle, elevate empathy, embrace change, and never settle. Now, each of these phrase means a very specific point. Not necessarily everybody tries to follow every point on all the projects or every day. But what happens is when you are put in critical situations, one of these 5 points will always come forward. And that's your mindset. Right? Let's start never settle, right? We live in a technical world. Technology changes every day. what you all started learning probably 5-10 years back, or when you started your career, does not even exist today. What you are learning today will not exist probably 2 years down the line. The technical evaluation happens so fast now, specifically, that if you're settled कि मुझे ये पता है हो गया मेरा काम तो हो गया आपका काम. Very simple, right? Then you have one of my favorite is elevate empathy. This is where you actually give importance to your team. This is, I'm not talking about your project team. It can be like the client team is also part of your team. I'll give a very simple example. Escalation हर जगह पर होते हैं, ठीक है. किसी का मूड कभी भी खराब हो जाता है, ठीक है. And then you plan to do something today. For some reason, you got stuck in the traffic and you couldn't reach on the time, right? Mood kharab ho gaya, and then it gets converted into a lot of friction. Right? Put it in a broader context के client ने आपके साथ कोई requirement share करी है, then client change the mindset. ठीक है, and then you can't go back say that it is change request. Obviously, you can't, right? How do you accommodate that? ठीक है, many times what I've experienced is that if you let that moment pass, just don't say anything, just don't react. Just let it pass. आधा घंटा 1 घंटा या तो एक दिन जाने दो, ठीक है, things will fall in place. या तो at times, or in fact many times, people want to just speak and then they want someone to listen without reacting it. This is philosophy. But if you put it in the context of the project or deliverables, most of us have experienced this, right? This is where your special attention to your team comes in. Okay, whether it is a junior most team member or senior most team member, everybody has some odd days. Everybody needs support. And when you provide that support to your team member, the output or the outcome changes substantially. That is where the elevate empathy plays a major role. Think about it. And obviously, law comes, which is you work with multiple teams, different roles, different teams. How do you connect with each other, not pinpoint the faults and things like that, right? So this is the philosophy that we operate with. Next slide. All right. Enough about horizontal, enough about experience. So let's talk about Sitecore User Group. Obviously, this is part of the Sitecore philosophy, and Sitecore has multiple user groups happening, right? And user group, I find it very useful. Very nice. I think Shri mentioned in the initial talk that it's a good way to connect with the people. We were talking just 10-15 minutes back that virtual तो सब कुछ होता है. I mean, after in last 4-5 years after COVID, everything is virtual. But the point of having this user group in person, okay, gives you different experience. Again, experience, right? And that is what matters. अगर यही session आपका Teams पे हुआ होता, तो इसका इतना impact नहीं आता, right? And that is where the experience matters. That is where the user group like this play a very major role. Obviously, there is a lot of learning to happen. There's a lot of sharing to happen. You learn, you share, you solve problems, right? That is where user group has major role to play. And then we have user group Kerala, and so Shri started this last year. Any questions on Shri? He's right here. He can answer that. And then we have mentors, mentees user group started by Vara, Debtanu, and Akash, right? And this two user group is hosting today's event, right? And this is the agenda for today. We are late, but that's okay. We can cover it up. So we have next one coming up on the XMC content SDK. Then Jaya is taking it. Then we have Deepak, and then PWA, Sitecore AI. So these are pretty good 5-6 technical topics to listen to, 30-40 minutes each. Feel free to interact. Feel free to ask questions. Not necessarily the speaker has the answers, but then collectively you can find out the answers, right? And real problem, if you can come up with the scenarios, if you're facing any scenarios, you can approach any one of us. If we have answers, we'll give you the answers. We don't, we'll definitely get back to you with the answers, right? Thank you, everyone. Thank you.